Pew, 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 pew.
Hello and welcome back to Small Screen, and today we're going to be doing a review, and we're going to be reviewing The Suicide Squad. And before I get started, there will be spoilers in this review. Right, let's get into it. So when it was revealed that James Gunn was doing a Suicide Squad movie for Warner Brothers, I was left scratching my head with utter confusion. Was this going to be a reboot, a sequel, or a prequel to David Ayer's movie? Well, the answer lies somewhere in between, and I think it's better for it. There are a lot of issues with 2016 Suicide Squad, issues that I won't go into here, but all I will say is hashtag release the Ayer cut and leave it at that. The main thing I kept on thinking whilst watching the Suicide Squad was, this really is our film de James Gunn. Gunn has made a name for himself for his rather unique sense of humour and love of gore and violence. He likes his films to be shocking, loud, proud, fun, and doesn't really care if he offends people in the process. If you look at his movies, the ones that he made before Guardians of the Galaxy, films like Super and Slither, those are the types of films that he liked to make. Honestly, he felt somewhat muzzled with the Marvel movies that he made, but they still had that trademark James Gunn style but lacked in the shock factor. Well, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad is Gunn unleashed, and it's all the better for it. It's a violent, vibrant, shocking R-rated comic book movie, and I think the genre benefits from it. Before Suicide Squad, if you were really to think of R-rated comic book movies, then Deadpool would be the first one to come to mind. However, and here comes an unpopular opinion, I think the Deadpool movies aren't that brilliant. They're R-rated but didn't really take advantage of that. Well, Gunn took every advantage he could and more. From the very beginning, the movie is constantly reminding you that this is an R-rated film. The gore, the violence, the language is unlike anything you've seen or heard in a comic book film before. The movie opens up with a warlike sequence that isn't afraid to show you as much blood, guts and gore as it can. The movie never really lets up from that point on. There are a whole host of brilliantly gory fight sequences. You can really tell that the movie is really reveling in its own violence, and that's how a Suicide Squad film should be. I also like the fact that the whole film is basically one mission that takes place in one location. The film, apart from the Amanda Waller scenes and some flashback sequences, takes place on an island called Corto Maltese. Okay, but that's enough about how much I love the movie's violence and its sense of humour. I think this is his funniest movie to date. He makes you feel bad for laughing, but that's the genius of James Gunn. He shows you that nothing is off limits and makes you feel all grubby and nasty after laughing at a rather inappropriate joke. It's time to talk about the performances in this movie. Literally everyone is on point in the Suicide Squad film, and I would argue that Idris Elba and Margot Robbie have never been better in an action movie. This is easily Robbie's best performance as Harley Quinn, and the movie actually adds a lot to her character. We've seen a different side to Quinn in this movie, and I can't wait to see more of her in the future. Idris Elba's Bloodsport is actually kind of the movie's lead, and he leads the troops masterfully. I actually really liked him in this role. I think he's really good as Bloodsport, and he is definitely not replacing Will Smith. He is not Deadshot. David Dastmalchian, I can't say this guy's name. Dastmalchian. David Dastmalchian is fantastic as Polka Dot Man, and I think Daniela Melchior as Ratcatcher 2 is the heart and soul of this movie. She is just wonderful. Then there's Sylvester Stallone as the voice of King Shark. Now that's what I call genius casting. He steals the show as far as jokes are concerned, and yes, John Cena is very good as Peacemaker, and he has some great one-liners, but I will say that I think the trailer kind of ruined his character a bit. They included the brunt of his one-liners, which was a shame. However, the scene in which Peacemaker and Blood try to outdo each other with their kills is simply pure brilliance, and it had me in stitches. I loved that scene. Even Joel Kinnaman shines as Rick Flag, which is kind of weird to say. He played the role in the first movie, but he's just so much better in this film. His character is also a lot more well-rounded. But don't get too attached to these characters. James Gunn was quoted as saying that almost every character in this movie will die, and he was right. So maybe don't get too attached to anyone when watching The Suicide Squad. The thing is, the characters are all so surprisingly well-rounded that you won't be able to stop yourself from getting attached to some of them. The only criticism I have as far as the film's characters are concerned is I think that Peter Capaldi's The Thinker was done a bit of a disservice. I would have liked to have seen more of him on screen, but finally, I can't do this review of The Suicide Squad without talking about Starro the Conqueror. The character turns up towards the end, spoilers, and just the utter balls of James Gunn to use such a character. I just loved it. He clearly relished being given the freedom to use the DC Comics characters he pleased. Gunn uses so many brilliant yet often maligned characters in this movie, and I think Starro is the best one. Huge kudos to Gunn for using Starro in the Suicide Squad, and he really didn't disappoint. I can't help but love this comic book movie, and I'm so looking forward to seeing what Gunn gets to do next for DC films. But let me know what you guys made of this review. Have you watched the Suicide Squad film yet? And if you haven't, why the hell are you watching this review? Go and watch the movie now. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and you can also like and subscribe, that'd be wonderful. And you can also follow us over on social media. Our social media game is on point. You can follow us everywhere at Small Screen Co. Please excuse the rather poor audio quality. I'm actually traveling right now. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers and goodbye.